Find it all in the palm of my hand. Nothing gonna get in the way. Do you understand? I got a house, I got a jet, I got a Rolls Royce painted blue. The only thing that's left is for me to own you too. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, where we have more joy every week than a Kamala Harris speech on school buses.
What the hell is that?
Haven't you heard that? Everybody loves school buses, Andrew.
Do they? I don't know.
Apparently, even though you were complaining about them in the presidential debates because you were supposedly segregated, and it was a terrible memory for you when you're running for president, and then then you want to push a point for electric buses, and
that's right. I was totally mistreated.
Yeah,
she was totally mistreated.
Yeah. I'm surprised nobody else has caught on to that. Here she is complaining about it. Oh, Joe Biden's the worst because you were part of the segregationists that made me ride the little. I was the little girl on that school bus, right? That was her quote,
yeah, which has nothing to do with whether it's electric or gas.
And then everybody loves school buses. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get lucky and one will run her over. I'll tell you what, it amazes me to this day that she's the vice president of the United States.
Yeah.
I just look at that and the first vice president I remember was actually President Bush Sr.
Yes.
And I remember Dan Quayle getting made fun of. Dan Quayle
he is
Einstein compared to Kamala Harris. Okay? Yes. I mean, come on. I mean, even Al Gore is much more smarter and all that. I mean, it just, or at least has some credentials to him, as much as I disagree with him on a lot of issues.
Right.
But it boggles my mind that she's the vice president of the United States. I'm so taken aback by it. It stuns me to this day.
It proves
of all the people in the United States, somehow she is the vice president.
Well, it proves that you need no skills whatsoever to be vice president of the United States.
No, it's what I always tell you. The more you fail, the less you do, the further you go in corporate America and in politics. Yeah, you go somewhere and try to change. Look at President Trump. You go somewhere and try to change things.
Yeah.
Try to expose things.
Yeah.
Look what happens to you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, but if you go there and just smile and get electric shocked every 10 seconds, well, you can go far. John Fetterman. I mean,
oh boy,
explain this stuff to me.
He's still in a hospital and apparently sending in questions to the Transportation Committee.
In a hoodie.
Phoning it in. Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's why he's depressed. He had to dress in a suit every day instead of being able to wear a hoodie on the floor of the Senate.
But did you see his official Senate picture?
No.
He's in a hoodie with the American flag behind him.
Oh, my word.
It's pathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, Craig, I'll even give credit to AOC. At least she put on a decent outfit to get a picture taken.
Yeah.
Didn't treat it stupidly like that, as dumb as she is. But, I mean, it's just... and I've said this before. The United States Senate is nothing but a billionaires club.
Yes.
And I don't understand how Mr. Fetterman got endorsed, won the election. Say what you want about Dr. Oz. People, if you don't like him, that's fine. But I mean, I still can't believe to this day he's in the United States Senate.
Yeah, it's kind of a mind boggler, isn't it? I mean, people hate
This is America. There's hope
much.
for everybody. Yeah,
it's like,
well, look at your congressperson. I mean, I know you asked her out and she turned you down. But I mean, you have somebody who comes here as a refugee and does nothing their entire life but talk about how horrible we are.
Right.
I'm so offended at that. It's like, screw you. Go back to your own country then if you don't like it here so much.
Right.
And I welcome people, by the way. I want everybody to succeed. But it just...
I believe in that poem that's under the Statue of Liberty, where it's send me you're hungry, you're tired, your huddled masses.
We got enough of them. Though.
You send the best to us, and we'll make them into something. We'll teach them how to succeed, or at least that's the America that I.
But
believe
it's a different crop of immigrants now, Jay.
Right.
People don't come here for that reason.
Some.
I think it's more the exception,
some don't.
though. I think more people come here. Not to become Americans. That's what it used to be. It's like they left the old country behind.
Yeah.
Which is a tough thing to do. That's got to be hard to do.
Yeah, it
It
is.
has to be.
And I feel really bad for a lot of these, countries where they're ruled by the cartel or, things like that.
That's true.
And it's violent, and I would want to get out of there too and do anything I could to get my children out of there.
I'd swim across the ocean to get out of there.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd sink about 20 yards out.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would do the same thing. But
Yeah.
there's, but also when you come to another country, I mean, there's responsibility on you too. It's not our job to learn your language or give you everything for free. It's you come here, okay.
If I was
you
dropped,
go and make it, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I hope you do.
if I was dropped in the middle of another country, first thing I would do is try to learn the language and get a job so I could make some money.
And think about it like this, Jay. You
Yeah.
don't learn English, and you're so limited in what you can do. You know what I mean? You have so many limitations on you.
Right.
Hey, you're going to clean toilets, okay? That's what you're going to do. And it's not. I'm not knocking on it. I'm just saying, if you don't take the time to learn the language and the culture, how do you expect to go anywhere in this country?
I don't know. I don't think you can.
So
I really don't.
Anyway. Well, Jay, I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
You're a dad,
Yes.
and I'm not.
Yes.
And I'm so thankful every day for the era I grew up in.
Yeah, me
That
too.
I don't have to grow up now.
Yeah.
Because we are effing kids up to the point where I hope I'm dead before. I hope I'm dead. Kids who are like 10 years old right now,
Yeah.
I hope I'm dead before they're my age. Because I don't know what this world will look like when they're in charge of it.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
And that's not on them either.
No.
It's on us adults.
Although it will be, because they're getting so messed up that,
They get drugged. They get taught all this crap.
Yeah.
And I think it's getting. I think today yesterday it got worse.
Yeah, I think it did.
What do you
get
have
worse,
to share? You share with us here all the non-binary, gender confused. I don't even know what non-binary means. I don't really understand.
Okay, binary means there's two choices. You're a man or you're a woman. Okay, when you're talking in terms of gender. Binary can be, like any kind of black and white choice where you have one or you have the other. That's a binary choice.
Vanilla or chocolate.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, and that's all there is. A non-binary person or non-gender conforming is someone who refuses to identify as a man or a woman. They could be gender fluid, going in between the two. They could be a purple unicorn. They could be
go in between the two.
They could be.
Would you grab a knife and then sew it back on the next day? What is that?
It's about how you feel on the inside,
Yeah,
Andrew.
my ass it is.
I'm just telling you what the definition is. I obviously don't believe it. It's make believe for people that didn't grow up, for the most part. Once you get into
It's Pat do. Is that what what this is?
Yeah, I mean, there's some of that. There's some mental illness involved. As far as 5 years back, we were calling out the mental illness of
Gender confusion or whatever you call it.
not confusion.
Dystopia?
Dysphoria, gender dysphoria, and that was an actual thing. And now that has been...
Isn't that called puberty?
In some cases. And most, here's where a lot of this happens. People get confused when they're going through puberty. And it usually...
I never got that confused.
I never got confused. But some people do, different circumstances, different, growing up, you have different people inputting things into you. And so I don't know,
but what's the? It's always funny when I hear the term mental illness, because I'm just like, okay, what does it mean exactly? You have a mental illness. Okay, well, what did you do to diagnose that?
Right. Well, I mean, that was...
I talked to you for 5 minutes and
Right.
I put a label on you?
Right. Well, and we know a lot of that happens, too. It's like...
Then you take your Cialis.
You're
or
tapping your foot too much. I'm going to put you on Ritalin.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. It's the wastebasket
I get
diagnosis.
it. I understand that.
But I do think you're right to an extent that there are kids who are confused. It happens. There are kids that are
abused.
Exactly.
And it happens.
Especially if you're abused by somebody from the same sex.
Yeah.
So I can understand the circumstances, especially if you don't get help. I mean, if you don't get help,
Right.
You're just going to grow up thinking that's normal, or you're going to, I mean, we've seen it with abusers who turn into the abuser later. I mean, that's normal to them.
Well, and I think there's a lot of grooming that's happening right now. People are getting positive reinforcement to be non-binary. They are.
So are you on the boys or girls like basketball team? Is there the non-binary team out there?
There's not. Of course not. Non-gender.
Don't give them any ideas.
Are more than welcome to go play on the women's team. You don't see it in reverse because the women can't compete with the men, but you can see it where the men go and
we have seen
on the women's team. Like Leah Thomas is that his name?
She calls himself herself,
and they what they call themselves.
What you call it?
Yeah. You can't be a they. That's plural.
But the idea that you could just let me ask you a question. What if I did blackface and called myself black? I'm identifying as black today. What's the difference?
That's okay if you're a Democrat you grow up to be the Prime Minister of Canada or the Governor of Virginia. That works.
But that's absurd. I mean, that's
right.
I mean, if I painted myself red and called myself an Indian, everybody would call me a racist.
Right.
Why is it different when a confused kid or an abused kid or whatever is having problems? Instead of trying to, here's the thing. I don't understand what the end game is. I don't get where they're going with this, because, and I want to know why the nows and the nags, the women's groups are not all over this, because when you and this is why when we had Justice Jackson up, I was scanning the Republicans because they were not pressing her on her refusal to say what a woman was.
Yeah.
They were not pressing her on the legal consequences of that.
Right.
Title IX, ERA. This is the party that campaigned on the ERA. Right. I don't mean earned run average.
Woman's suffrage.
Yeah.
Right?
And now they can't identify what a woman is. That's ridiculous.
And they talk in circles to the point where it is ridiculous. Birthing people and,
But isn't that just, doesn't it go, where are the women's groups here saying, whoa, a man can't have an abortion here. Let's, I may disagree with them about that issue.
Yeah.
But we both should be able to say that only a woman can give birth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should be able to. I mean, that's science. Follow the science.
Yeah.
Right?
What happened to that?
Well, the way they see it, you can be born with a uterus, but that doesn't necessarily make you a woman, because you can find out really over the course of your life that you're really a man.
Jay, I've checked. I don't have a uterus.
No, I don't either. I don't. But there are women who are born with a uterus who feel like a man, and so
I don't care what they feel like.
This group calls them men and says, yes, men can get pregnant. Trans men, binary can get pregnant. And it's not true.
This is the whole what we've gone to, and we'll get to. I want you to explain what the executive order was too in a minute, period.
Yeah.
But this is the whole thing about having a thinking country has turned into a feeling country.
Yeah.
It's all about feeling good, feeling bad, feeling this, feeling that. There is no thinking that goes on anymore. This is the consequences of that. It's the consequences of not teaching kids to think. It's teaching kids to feel.
Yeah.
Hey, if you don't know what if you think 2 + 2 is 6, you're not wrong, because you might feel bad and go, hump a lamppost or something. No, it's wrong. You're doing it wrong. And I don't care that you don't feel good. Okay, you have to learn.
Yeah. That's the whole point of school. You enter school as an idiot, and you come out hopefully with the life skills and knowledge to be able to make a good living for
But it's
yourself.
like being in baseball and striking out every at bat, and the coach puts your arm around you. Oh, that was so great. You suck.
Yeah.
You suck.
Here's a participation trophy.
Hit the damn ball. And if you can't play the sport, go Go play croquet. I mean, it's just. I mean, it's the whole idea of. I hate when people call it tough love. That makes it sound like. I always hear that defending like spanking and stuff, and that's not what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm saying you can't teach people that being stupid is okay, or that not trying or coming up with the wrong answer with a smile on your face is a good thing.
It's not a good thing, but it's okay if people want to do that. I defend their right to do that, but guess what? You don't get the trophies. You don't get the accolades. You don't get to be a manager at a business. You don't get to graduate from school.
Right. You'll be cooking fries. You'll be cooking fries. And even that might be a challenge.
Yeah.
But you've dumbed down standards to a point where we might as well not have any.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no truth. Everything is relative, and it can be whatever we want. We have become a culture that thrives on make-believe, and it's going to be our downfall because you have countries like Russia and China that are very focused on taking us down.
Yeah,
well, we're off playing dress-up.
Yeah, we got countries racing past us, and we're worried that that a kid feels good when they play soccer.
Yeah, it's going to feel real good when you're starving to death because an EMP has knocked out all the power in your city.
Boy, you're getting worse than me on this stuff.
I'm a little passionate about it.
You're
going to feel real good when you die in a nuclear blast.
Yeah, we'll get to the moon landing, and I'll see how we do. But I'll tell you what, Jay. So what happened at the state? I want to know what happened, because I'm confused by what this means. Yeah. So what did Governor Goofball do? Our long distance runner, the Hamburglar. What did he do?
Only thing he's running from is the truth. Okay. Minnesota governor signs executive order protecting rights to gender-affirming care.
What is that?
Now, first of all, he signed an executive order. A law was not passed. There is no legal precedent for any of this. However, he signed an executive order that protects the rights to gender-affirming care. Gender-affirming care is anything that helps an individual go from their birth gender to another gender.
So people don't. Is he talking about adults here?
No, he's not just talking about adults. Adults can already do it. There's nothing to stop an adult from going in and doing this today. There's nothing. Adults have the ability to do that. This is to protect the quote unquote rights of children to get a sex change, to be blunt about it, to be castrated, to have body parts cut off. It's sick.
It is sick. I mean, but again, a kid. Here's the sick part, though. A kid can't walk into a doctor's office and demand a sex change, can they?
Yeah.
Well, who pays for that?
Good question.
Parents' insurance?
No, because the parents aren't allowed to know unless the parent's in favor of it.
So if the parent's against it, I mean, look, this is how crazy it is. You can't give a child a Tylenol in school without the parent knowing.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, and there's reasons for that because medication has an effect on kids.
But they could get the abortion drug.
They can get the abortion drug or the morning after pill, right? Can they get that too? I think
Probably.
They maybe can.
Yeah.
So what kind of parent or doctor subjects their kid to a sex change?
Dr. Mengele type doctor.
Yeah,
that's
what's just as bad as
yeah, absolutely.
Well,
that's not hyperbole.
No, not.
That's not hyperbole. Let
me tell you something.
The truth.
If a doctor cut off a kid's arm, would there be any question that that's not right?
Yeah.
So why if they cut something else off, is it treated differently?
Right.
If you gouged an eye out, it would. I mean, it would be brought up on felony charges. Oh, but you cut something else off,
right?
And it's okay,
right? Went in there, doctor decided, I'm going to take a kidney. The doctor would be out.
the doctor would never practice medicine in 150 different countries. I mean, it's crazy.
But we have an entire, to borrow a term, where did I hear this? Was it from the Blaze and Glenn Beck? The pervert mafia. You have a group of people that are so focused on grooming these kids where they want so badly to create a generation of kids that are so confused, that have no idea who they are, and this is why. You had asked the question before, why? It's to tear down the fabric of America, because you cannot fundamentally change America until you convince enough people that America is a bad place.
Yeah.
So you have to confuse people. You have to attack everything. You have to tear everything down. And until you tear everything down, you don't have that ability to fundamentally change this country, because there's enough of us left that believe in something. And this is just destroying everything. And you have these parents that take their kids to these drag queen dance parties and story hours, and they should lose their children. Or very seriously, they should have visitations from CPS as to why they can't do the right thing for their children.
Think about it. Think about it if instead of it was, again, cross out drag queen, and put something else there. And use your own imagination and just think what would happen if something like that were to happen.
Let's say that parents started taking their kids, the impressionable kids that were 5, 6, 7 years old, to hear a story from Mike Tyson on fighting. And then they go to school and start beating other kids up.
How about Michael Vick teaching some dog fighting?
Yeah, dog training 101.
Everybody's appalled at that. Rightly so, by the way.
Yes.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
But they're not appalled if you go in front of She-Ra. That's all right. Actually, it's not all right. I don't think there's many parents that do this, by the way.
There's enough.
But I think that there's so many who don't speak out and are afraid to, and they're kowtowed into silence. I believe they're on the left as well. I believe there are people on the left who don't agree with this, who are afraid to say something. They're not used to being called names like we are.
Right.
They're not used to being on the defensive. So I think that's really the truth. I think a lot of them it's like abortion. They look the other way.
But let me tell you this. The second you don't speak out about somebody and you allow somebody to intimidate you into not speaking out, you've lost.
Oh, well.
You've lost.
Like I say, you can't beat them, join them. Jay, I've become so disillusioned with everything that
should I bring in a dress for you next time?
Well, no, I got one at home. But the thing is just I become...
But we've got to come together, and we got to stop with...
No, we have to stop with the stupid... Again, we have to stop with the Democrat-Republican stuff.
That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah, it's elites, and I say this a lot.
Yeah.
It's elites against the rest of us. It's the people who want to maneuver and control us versus the masses. That's what it really is.
There's more of us than there are of them. There really are. And we can fight all of this and win at all of it. But it takes people speaking out and standing up and having the guts to do it. And
it also takes people to say, okay, this person's a Republican, this person's a Democrat. I don't care about that right now.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we are so at each other with the labels. It's so ingrained in us to think of the Democrat as your enemy, or the Republican, you have to hate them.
Yeah.
It is so there that I don't know what our media is so dishonest and so worthless that I can understand, because the media is part of our elites. They go to the cocktail parties. They sit in New York and Washington and look down on the rest of the country. Flyover country, as they call flyover country. Go to New York and, jump in the ocean. What's so great about New York?
Nothing.
Other than the Yankees.
It's a great place to get
New York's
stabbed.
a dump. It's just a dump. So I don't know. I have no hope that we can do that. I just don't, because I don't see anybody willing to do that. I'm willing to work with anybody who hates me. I don't care what you think about on this issue or that issue. And there's just nobody with that attitude. There's nobody. Everybody looks at somebody and tries to find something wrong. And so, I can't see it changing. I really can't.
Well, I'm going to try. I'm going to die trying. I mean, that's really it.
I'll probably die trying too, but what's
the alternative, though?
To me, it gets to the point where if you can't beat them, join them. I'll just put on a dress and I'll just join them. I'll be non-binary for the next 5 minutes. Then I'll go back to normal, or then I'll,
But I mean, really, what's the alternative? I mean, the end game in this
surrender
is that we are slaves who own nothing, and that they have everything. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm unwilling to live like that, and I will die trying to keep us from sliding into that kind of a situation. So I've got to fight all this stuff.
Yeah, I know.
I have to. I could never live with myself if I sat silent and knowing what was coming, watching it happen before my eyes, and I just sat and watched it. Because they will start killing people eventually.
Yeah, of course. Well,
if it goes far enough, and we allow it to go far enough.
Of course it is. What did Joseph Mengele do? That's all he did, was do dissections and just the worst possible crimes on another human being.
Right.
Hey, you're telling me forcibly changing a kid's sex is not one of the worst crimes you could possibly do?
Absolutely.
Why don't you just put him in a prison camp?
It's like the Bible says.
Or him, her, or it, or they.
It's like the Bible says, though. I mean, anyone that harms a child is better off having a millstone hung around their neck and being thrown into the sea. I hate to see what is in store for these people that are advocating for this and pushing for this. They will have to answer someday.
I know. They will.
They will have to answer someday. So, anyways. Okay, so Governor whatever here decides that...
Wally's.
Yeah. He forced this through without a law. He forced it through without a law, and
so now the gender-affirming care,
yes.
Are insurance companies forced to pay that now?
Oh, I'm sure. Huh. Well, I mean, they can't through executive order because that's not under the executive branch of the government. But a lot of them, I think, are deciding to do that.
What if?
Because you have places like Children's Hospital that's more than willing to do it.
Really, that's interesting. You won't pay for my colonoscopy, but you'll pay for a frickin'...
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Just think of the torture that like people like me are under, having to sit in a 2-hour podcast with you.
Yeah, exactly. If you can pay
Get this man a colonoscopy.
Yeah, if you can pay that, then I shouldn't have a deductible. Really. I mean, think about that.
Yes.
Think about how is that necessary medical care? How's it different from plastic surgery, if you really think about it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or a boob job. I mean, it's not have this or you're going to die. It's not like you had a heart attack or something or a stroke.
Right. So what they want to do is make Minnesota a trans refuge state by protecting trans people, families, and care providers from a range of legal repercussions for traveling to Minnesota for gender-affirming care, which includes a wide range of social and medical interventions. So they're trying to get this bill passed, and Walz had to
preempt it.
Because
so is Walz saying that they're not going to prosecute people? Because remember, the executive branch doesn't deal in monetary. They're supposed to enforce the law.
Yes.
Is he saying I'm not enforcing the law? They haven't passed one, but I don't care. I'm not enforcing it anyway. Is that kind of the gist of this?
Yeah, absolutely. It allows for children to be brought here from other states where it's illegal, and it
like
can even
South
be
Dakota, Iowa,
right? And yeah, the procedure has to be done, and Minnesota will not prosecute.
Okay, so that's what he's doing.
Also, if if a non-custodial parent decides to kidnap a child and bring them here for gender-affirming care, they will not prosecute. They will not remand the parent back to the state for prosecution.
If the non-custodial parent steals their kid for a weekend and brings them back, they can be prosecuted. If they change their sex, then they have immunity.
Yes. Yeah.
Golly.
Oh, I know.
I feel bad. I feel bad going on to property taxes, Jay. We almost should. It's actually a light note.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
where are you reading this, by the way? Tell everybody.
So it's all over the place. You can just put Walz Executive Order Trans, and you can find it. And there's all sorts of places. This particular was a PBS article. CBS News has talked about it. It's been in the patch. CNN even talked about it. Star Trib, Pioneer Press, you name it. Care 11, blah, 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 blah. The one thing, if you Google it, that you're not going to find is the original article that I found from Alpha News, which linked to the actual text of
course not,
the executive order, and that executive order, how it spells this out, that, yeah, they are not going to help any other state prosecute crimes committed by bringing children
that's
to
in the
this
abortion
state.
law, too, I think, that if you want to come to Minnesota and get an abortion.
And I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. I mean, you tell me where you have the ability to put in writing, I am not going to uphold the laws that have been given to me to execute.
Well, I mean,
that should be automatic impeachment.
I mean, just think about it. That's like saying, I've decided that armed robbery, I'm not going to extradite somebody back to South Dakota.
Yeah.
That'd be absurd. Although we may be heading that direction in some cases too.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah, it is. It's basically the person who is enforcing the law basically saying they're not going to.
Yep.
I mean, that's...
And we're seeing that now with, as we predicted,
Yeah.
the new Hennepin County attorney, Mary Moriarty, who is already turning criminals back out in the street. Surprise, surprise.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Another
at
prediction for Community Solutions. Ding, ding.
Can we ever get a good one, though?
No.
Why are they always bad? Because I suck at predicting stuff.
Because nothing is good. That's why.
Okay, Jay, there you go. Okay, you're on my side now.
Yeah.
I call it everything sucks. That's what I call it. Speaking of everything sucks, can we transition into property taxes, please?
I'm not transitioning into anything. I'm binary.
You're non-binary when it comes
I'm binary. I'm not non-binary.
I'm property tax confused, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's true.
We live in Minnesota, and so being property tax dysphoria is that's. I believe in that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Now, Jay, in the old days, I mean, just to try. I mean, and this is people think this is a boring subject. You and I can make anything non-boring. I mean, even 280 shows in, we can still make things non-boring. And and if you want some, you brought up county attorneys.
Yeah.
I will tell you, go back. I don't remember what episode, 112 or something. Go listen to our
Not even close.
What was it? The county attorneys?
If you want, I can look it up. But
you can look it up if you want to. But I remember that it was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, God, this is just the most boring thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And somehow we made it pretty dang good.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think we'd run out of this stuff after 6 years, and we just
absolutely not.
seem to not. But
well, that's because there's so much going on. There's more to report on now than there was when we started the show.
Unfortunately, that's true. I mean, in so many respects, we've gone backwards. It's sort of like I don't know if we can shift gears ever, but or just try to make it not as worser as it would have been. I don't know how you do that.
Right.
But property taxes in the state of Minnesota, Jay, I tell you what, you just think it would be so easy.
You think so?
I mean, like Minnesota, first off, let me ask you this. What is up with Minnesota? Minnesota has the most complex system of everything.
Yeah, that's on purpose.
Why is that? But why?
Because then nobody knows what they really owe, and they can screw with the system. And
okay, that's one reason. But I mean, what?
It's the same reason that they want to have ranked choice voting, which I should add they're making a push for statewide.
Yeah, I don't.
I hope it fails.
To me, wouldn't you have to change the Constitution, though? Would that require constitutional change?
I don't know.
Because how can you force it statewide on every election?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because, charter cities, you'd force them. They have to change
I
their
don't know.
charter.
Well, I don't know if it would.
It would just be the constitutional offices?
Could
or
be,
it would
yeah.
be...
Yeah, I don't know. It's a mess. The whole thing's a mess.
I'll tell you what, and a lot of independent people favor ranked choice voting. It's one of the issues with independents I really disagree with because
Me too.
The way to break down the two-party system is not to change how we vote. Go look in other states and tell me how many independent candidates have won that have ranked choice voting. Zero.
Let me tell you, in Minneapolis, where it's supposed to be so great,
go to
you got
Alaska.
5 Democrats
Alaska
running.
and ask anybody up there if they feel represented right now.
Yeah.
It's the
Congratulations, you got Murkowski back.
no, but look at what happened in Congress, the congressional race when you had one Democrat and 2 Republicans.
Right.
The Republicans combined got 20 points higher than the Democrat, yet somehow the Democrat got elected because of ranked choice voting.
Right.
Because you don't have primaries. So the 2 Republicans would normally have run in a primary.
Yeah.
One of them would have won, and I guarantee you in Alaska they would have won.
Absolutely.
So it screws up. I don't know how anybody can look at that and say they're well represented. It's worse than an odd year election. It's you can't come up with a worse system. The way to break the two-party system down, we have to reform campaign finance reform. We got to get rid of these lobbyists. We got to do that kind of stuff. The funny money. And I have my issues with that because I do believe in the First Amendment, but I don't think the First Amendment's intent was to have a Hungarian business guy, George Soros, spend billions of dollars to manipulate elections. That's not what the First Amendment stands for.
No, it's not.
So I kind of am on the fence on both, but to me, I want to make it harder for people to be bought. That's what I want. So how we do that, I don't care about details. How we do that is something different, but to me, that's how, and you have to get rid of the rules for them to get on the ballot and for them to debate, and that's how to attack it. Mm-hmm. It is not to change our voting system. So when I am the independent candidate for governor, I want people to know I will veto ranked choice voting. And I want them to know that, and they can complain if they want to. But anyway, so to get back on
property taxes.
But
yes.
You talk about the systems being complex and why that is. And yes, that's one reason. Another reason, though, is what's happened to property taxes. Where lawyers and lobbyists have come in and gotten special favors for, and we see this with the income tax.
Yes.
If you sell oil, you just get demonized, yelled at, called names. If you sell solar panels, there you get all this corporate welfare,
right?
Which some people used to oppose, but they are in favor of it if they like the product,
right?
So you get all these. That's where the system goes crazy. And in our property tax system in Minnesota, first off, isn't it amazing that I can't get a straight answer on how many property tax classifications we have? Isn't that amazing? Mm-hmm. I have sources that say 47, 49, 53, and 55. That's what I've found.
Huh.
We can't even name. It's like there's 10 million illegal aliens, but we're just going to let them all stay. Well, if you can count them, why can't you find them and deport them? So, but that's the whole thing is that with property, they're so complex. It started with, property taxes started as a way to, I don't want to say a way to fund local government because that's really not how they started, but that's really its purpose here in Minnesota. And to me, properties are one of 4 things, Jay, and you tell me what I'm missing.
Okay.
They are either residential, somebody lives there, it's their home.
Yep.
They are commercial, somebody does a business. They are industrial.
Yep.
Or they are agricultural.
Correct.
So if there's 4, why do we have either 47 to 55 in this state?
I could not tell you. Should be easy. It should be easy. And
it's like a tax rate at 4%. That shouldn't be hard.
No.
But then you go to a deduction and a credit, and that's what our property tax system has become.
Yeah, it has. They have tried as much as they can to make it a progressive tax. When
property
it should
taxes are
not be.
already based on the
Right.
value of your property.
Well, I know, but they've tried to break it further into
Yeah.
a more progressive tax by if you're in this range, you pay this. If you're in this range, you pay that.
And there is that to an extent right now.
It should be based, on
Live a-
square footage.
Live a block from a golf course
Yeah.
and look at your property. Live 3 blocks away and look at your property taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's
Yeah.
rules to that. I can't even explain them. I can't even explain them. But
Right.
but Jay, here's the old adage about this. There is a myth out there that your property taxes follow your home value.
Yeah. I was going to talk
Yeah.
about that. Absolutely, they don't.
No, because believe it or not, folks, I know this is hard to believe. Government has gamed the system so that no matter what, they get paid. So if everybody's home value drops 30%, they don't take in 30% less money.
Oh, no.
That's not how the system works. I don't know where that started. I don't know where this whole conversation started, or whatever you want, prism about this viewpoint that if your value goes up, your taxes go. That's not true, or down. It has no effect on that. What counties do, because counties collect the taxes in Minnesota. They pay the local governments 2 times a year. One is May 15th, the other is October 15th. That's when the money gets distributed. Okay? And what they do, and living in Hennepin County, and when I lived in Crystal, I remember this, they take a median home price. And I'll try my best to explain. I'll be honest with you, I can't completely explain it because there's exceptions to everything because of all the classifications. And if you're a rental unit, but you have 4 units instead of 8, there's a different class you fall in. So basically, let's just pretend. We'll just make the math easy. Say the median home price is $200,000 in the city. Okay. Let's say the next year, that median home price is $190,000.
Right.
It goes down 5%. Now, that has no effect on whether your taxes go up or down.
Right.
So the average went down 5%. And try to follow me here. If your home went down 3%, you will get a property tax increase.
Absolutely.
Because it did not go down. If it went down 7%, you'd get a decrease.
Maybe.
And again, remember,
Yeah.
a decrease is theoretical because if they raise property taxes, you may not get. That's the calculation. And
property taxes are figured out, and we should just say it, based on how much the government wants to spend. Your home value really has to do with how they break that up among the people in the city. So when there's an increase in taxes, they need more money, your taxes go up, right?
Yes, exactly.
If they want to spend $5 million more than last year, then that $5 million gets divvied out among people based on their home values.
Yes, very, very much so. And then remember two other critical things. One, your property taxes don't go only one place. Okay? They go mostly to county, school district, city, or township, or wherever you live.
Yeah.
And here's the second thing. There are little ones, like the Met Council, like the Three Rivers Park District, if you happen to live in Hennepin County.
Yeah.
And remember, Hennepin County, for example, has 3 levies. This is what's not talked about either. You pick up the paper, you won't see anything on this. You really have to dig. You have to go to Hennepin County's budget on page 313,417, and it might show it there. They have, just like a city, and like the city of Crystal, they had an EDA levy.
Yes.
They had a pool bond for the longest time. That was voted in, but it was different. It was not part of the. Everybody just focuses on the main levy.
Right.
But the county has a railroad authority, and they have a housing, an HOA. So they have two other little buckets where they get money from. Your school district has the operating budget, and it has the deferred maintenance budget.
Mm-hmm.
So if you actually look, that's why when you look at it, it's kind of, what the hell is this? I remember in Crystal there were like 11 places, technically, where the property taxes went. Because I want to say the watershed too. Did they do a property tax? Shingle Creek is what I used to be a part of.
So yeah.
I mean, it was not much money, but they might have. I can't recall where they get their money from, or if they get it from the councils. I don't know, but it might be. It might have been. The watershed might have been on there too. So you got Met Council, Park District, 3 county levies, 2 school levies, 2 city levies. I mean, it's incredible how many places they go.
Yeah.
And it's just the dumbest system. It's the stupidest thing you could come up with. I hate every system they come up with in Minnesota. I don't know what the perfect system would look like. But you and I always talk about less is more, simple is better. You want one way where your money comes in and one way where your money comes out.
Right.
Not 37. And so that's the whole thing where I come back to. The more complex you make something, the harder it is to find out where your money's going or to who.
Right.
And then the local governments just whine that it's, and they're right to a point. There may be 20% right. There are some things in the system that are screwed up and aren't their fault. Although I do blame the League of Minnesota Cities and the Association for Minnesota County. They don't push for property tax reform. They're too busy with non-binary city council members to worry about that, or building a roundabout or whatever, something, building a complete street.
Right.
They're too busy with that to worry about reforming taxes. But I just sit there and I marvel at how we got to this point.
Yeah.
Where your taxes can't be explained to you. You can't understand them. You can't understand how they're collected and where they go and what you classify as. I mean, it's just the most needlessly dumb system. And by the way, do you know the highest taxed county? Do you know what it is? It's not Hennepin. I'm just curious if you.
No, I wouldn't think it would be Hennepin, because you've got
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis and stuff in it. I would guess that it's maybe Washington County.
They're up there. They're not number one. Carver County.
Carver County. That would have been my second guess.
They're number
because you
one.
have Lake Minnetonka, and
on the other end of it. It's Hennepin on the north side.
Right, and then in Washington, you've got all that stuff on the St. Croix River, Stillwater, Marine on St. Croix.
Yeah, it's amazing. Why are the property taxes so high out there?
Property on waters, as you know, is always exorbitant.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the deal with living on a lake or a river? I mean,
what? Yeah, I suppose because it's more desirable.
Well, but without rivers, without fresh water,
I know.
The golf course ones are the ones that drive.
Yeah,
those
are
it's like
expensive.
You got golf balls hitting your backyard, and then you get your property taxes jacked up.
I know.
Never understood that.
Excuse me, just play it through.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, but the system. I mean, Jay. So many people too, when they escrow, I think they don't give their property taxes the once over. When I had to go down to Hennepin County and write a check, I believe me, I gave that a hard look. But so many people roll it in that I just feel like it's not.
People don't get upset about it because it doesn't come out of pocket. Like income taxes do.
Yeah, I know. When it's rolled into it, maybe that's why. Because it's rolled into a payment. That's why people don't notice it as much.
Right. You know, it's like people that get money back on their income taxes, that get a refund. They're not as upset about their income taxes because they're getting money back once a year. It's your money. The government took your money in an interest-free loan, and you're getting your money back that you should have had all year long. Well, now I can take a trip. You could have saved for a trip and had more money.
You know, it's funny. It's funny too. The one tax that always gets me though, and this is where I just kind of blow up, especially at the political left, is the excess taxes. I mean, you talk about regressive taxes. I mean, those taxes legitimately are regressive. Yeah. Sales and gas taxes in particular. Yeah. And don't tell me you're the champion of the little guy which you shouldn't be the champion of. Yeah. The Constitution applies equally to everybody.
Absolutely.
Regardless of their income. But don't tell me that you're the champion. Who's trying to raise those taxes all the time? It's always people on the left.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you jack up a gas, you're not hurting Bill Gates, you're hurting the person living paycheck to paycheck driving to work.
Bill Gates doesn't make much of an income. Everything's in
investments.
Gains.
I know. And who's dropped? Both parties have done that.
Yeah.
Because the investor class, of course, they're sitting in Congress.
Yeah.
You know, they don't do it, but their brother does it, and their mother does it, and their wife does. They put it in somebody else's name. It's just like creating a foundation as a tax shelter and putting your kid in charge and giving them $1 million salary. It's the same thing.
Yep.
It's no different than that. So I mean, it's the property tax. You know the most interesting tax system to me is New Hampshire, because they don't have an income tax or a sales tax.
Really?
They rely everything on property taxes.
Huh.
Yet their property taxes are not exorbitant.
Really?
Yes. And so why is it that New Hampshire can fund all their schools and they can, how can they do that without a sales tax and income tax? I just don't understand. You listen to the logic here in Minnesota on both sides, by the way, because I don't see any taxes Republicans have gotten rid of.
No.
So in many cases, they've added them. So, I mean, Republicans gave us the Met Council and the sales tax. I always go back to that, go back to the late 1960s. So how is that state not falling apart?
Well, they probably don't have any community centers, Andrew.
No amphitheaters there or anything like that. I mean, you look at states like Florida and Texas with no income tax. How do they live?
Yeah.
How do they do that?
Yeah, they figured it out.
It's just sort of amazing how Minnesota literally can't live without taxing everything to death.
And if they overtax you, they'll keep it.
They'll keep most of it.
Yeah.
By the way,
I
gotta give Republicans credit
for
starting the 2022 campaign last week.
The 2022 campaign?
Listen, hear me out.
All right.
A group of legislators, and I don't remember who they were, who cares? Doesn't matter. They came out with a plan to give $12 billion of the $17 billion back to Minnesota citizens and keep $5 billion. And my question is, where was that last summer?
Yeah, not.
I mean, if you're gonna
just took them a while
come out with
to
the
figure it
campaign
out.
slogan a year later, but I mean, wouldn't that have been something all Republicans could have run on?
Yeah, you would think so. We'll put money back in your pocket.
Well, I mean, they all could have said, "Hey, we're all gonna give you $1,000
Yeah.
And they wait till they lose, and then they wait 5 months.
Yeah.
Then they come out with a campaign slogan. So look for that 2024 campaign slogan to come out in the spring of 25.
Yeah.
They'll get to it by then.
Their campaign slogan in 24 will be, "We would have given you this money back."
Yeah, I know. Here's the thing, too. I mean, I should let. It's not funny. Them keeping my money is not funny.
No.
But the whole point is, a $17 billion surplus was a home run to anybody running as an outsider.
Yep.
It's like, look at these jerks. Not only do they overtax you, when they overtaxing you, they're going to keep it.
Yes.
Okay, you can give money to education, you can do all that crap, and at the same time give everybody whatever back. And instead, the Republicans do nothing, have no coherent message, have nothing to offer other than that they hate Tim Walz. Okay, fine. Okay, join that club. But but literally, where was that a year ago?
Yeah.
I mean, that should have been the first question from somebody from the 3 media people who attended it. It should have been the first thing. Hey, where was that a year ago? You knew about this surplus then.
Yeah.
So I just have to credit Republicans for finally starting the 2022 campaign. I'm so happy they finally started it. I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny.
It's not funny at all.
Now, so I want to get back to property. So reforming these taxes. Okay, I know one thing Minnesota's not going to do, and that's going to make anything easy, simple. They're never going to do that.
Right.
You know, and unfortunately, I think I don't know why a city or a county has to have a separate levy for something. I don't get that. Why do they do that?
I don't know.
Like, why does Hennepin County have a railroad levy?
Well, they used to run trains, and now they have light rail.
Okay, but why
they had to maintain track and all that kind of stuff.
But why does that have to have its own levy? I mean, they have a courthouse, and they
don't have a levy for that.
They have a sheriff's department. There's no sheriff's levy.
Yeah.
I mean,
no soil and water conservation levy.
Yeah, of course we don't get to pick those people anymore. But I mean, but why do they have separate levies for that?
Well, that's another way to get more money. That's why. Again, you confuse things enough.
Yeah.
People are not. They're not even going to try to ask questions. I don't get it. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's a bad system. I mean it's needlessly complex, as everything is in Minnesota. Education funding is needlessly complex. Highway funding is absurd. There's some constitutional provisions in there too that make things weird. But I still just cannot understand how you can go to the Department of Revenue's page and you can't get a handle on property taxes.
Right.
I mean, you can't get a handle on anything. You know, I'm just amazed. I mean, it takes some real skill. It's like I always say this. Sometimes it doesn't take skill to be bad or good. It takes skill to be bad.
Sometimes, yeah.
It's like you can't do that bad on purpose. You know, it's kind of like I played with some when I was in Little League, I played with some guys. I'm like, you can't try and be that bad. You know, you can't. It's not possible.
The kids that are sitting down throwing dirt in the air and eating bugs, you can't.
It's like, how did you throw to the wrong base? I mean, it's not possible. In fact, short story.
Okay.
One of the first times I went bowling. Okay, so my sister threw the ball so slow that it got stuck in the gutter. And my dad's getting so impatient.
Yeah.
I mean, I see him and he's like the Macho Man sitting in the chair, just doing. It's driving him nuts because he was a serious bowler back when he was like the age I am now. I mean, he had bowling Wednesday night. That was his night to go. Village North up in Brooklyn Park. That was where he bowled invented the Richter hook. So he told me to take the ball, throw it down there, and knock her ball out. Well, I don't know if he wasn't looking, but I throw the ball and I hit. I hit that middle thing. And the ball goes in there. The ball goes in the wrong gutter. It goes in the other gutter. And my dad looks up and goes, how the hell did you throw in the wrong gutter? I'm sorry. It was just a great. How do you throw it in the wrong gutter? Okay. All right. Enough dumb stories. Oh, I haven't thought of that for a long time. That was almost a breakdown to the point of the, what was that? Rebecca Knocker. That was almost that. That's the greatest. By the way, what episode was that?
I don't know.
But that was honestly the greatest meltdown you and I ever had.
It seemed like it. Yeah.
Listen back. It's a long time, but it's anytime I'm extra ticked off. I remember I used to put that episode on and just laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. All right. So anyhow,
yes.
I mean, like I said, you can't try and be that bad. You can't throw the ball in the wrong gutter. It's just so Minnesota just can't be. Now, Jay, let me ask you. Now, you've owned your house for a long time, 20 plus years. I mean, what do you think? What do you think over that time your property taxes have gone up? I mean, what do you think? 50%? 75%? I mean, you don't have to say dollar amounts on the air, but
right.
I mean, what do you think over time, how ridiculous it's gotten?
I mean, I've had a little bit of a break living in Crystal because with Jim Adams and the council that I have had, they've stemmed that pretty well.
Okay.
So, I mean, let me just say that. I know that they were going up pretty well under the prior regime with Mayor Bowman.
Their spending was going up a lot, too.
Yeah, spending was going up a lot. And I know Jim has been at the helm of trying to hold that stuff as steady as possible. So I don't think that my amounts that it's gone up are really a fair reflection of how much it's gone up everywhere else.
Sure.
But it has, I mean, there's still things where employees unions, the government employees unions need more money because you got to have better benefits, got to have raises, all that kind of stuff. And so, spending does go up, so taxes goes up. There's
some merit to that, though. I mean, there is some merit to I want to pay police and I want to pay firefighters, and there's a certain amount I'm willing to pay.
I'm just not willing to pay six figures to a city manager, 6 figures to an assistant city manager, 6 figures to a city planner, 6 figures to a community development director, and when you're top heavy, it's just, it's not a good way to manage funds.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand that. I mean, it's, it is what it is on that level. And again, I want to say this about a city manager. Cities of certain sizes are required to pay their managers a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
There's a state statute on it that there's a minimum salary they have to be offered if you're a city of a certain size.
Yeah.
Which again is another lobby, another special interest that put that in there, whatever their club is. That's how they got there. So there is the truth to that. We've seen school referendums come and go. There's probably been 3 or 4 at least since you moved to Crystal. I mean,
oh yeah, that's gone up.
Yeah, for sure.
Hennepin County, my taxes have gone up because of Hennepin County. They've gone up because of the school district. Absolutely.
Yeah. And, even if they're little amounts of money, I mean, $3 here, $5 there, $10 here, and it's real money. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
You and I don't get. And this is the thing about property tax. There's no deductions on that. Okay, if you're not one of the special classes, you can't write off. You can't write that off like you can, a mortgage interest or something. I mean, it's a real amount that you're paying. And I agree with you, though. I go back to everybody should have to sit down, write a check to the county, and then you'd get people pissed off.
Right.
They're not going to get pissed if it's escrowed in
and
it goes up $3 a month. You're not going to see that.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that has to happen. And again, that's another thing. But banks lobbied. Government was for that, so they could hide all of their increases and that. If you got an adjustable rate, you might not.
Yeah,
because
you might never know.
Hey, my interest went down because I had an adjustable rate. Well, it should have gone down more, but your property taxes took some of that money away. I mean, you don't cut a check to it, so you don't see it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you? Let me ask you this: do you like the system of because I always question how things are assessed. You got Hennepin County, okay, and there's over 1 million people in Hennepin County.
Right.
So nobody's walking out to your house or my house and looking at it and, figuring out what the real value is.
Right.
Okay. I mean, real property. They're kind of putting everybody in like a pigeonhole of, okay, you got a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom, and you live here.
Yeah.
So this is your median price.
Yep.
So I mean, is that kind of a thing that how we assess where it's kind of everybody thrown in a bucket? I mean, I don't know that everybody should like walk out to everyone's house and write up something.
Yeah.
But is that really fair? Is it a fair way to tax somebody? It's like, it's like I got my income. Okay, my income's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there on my W-2 or whatever
Yeah.
you have. I go to the store and I buy $50 worth of things. I'm taxed to sales tax, and it's not a variable. It's not an estimate.
Right.
I mean, is that a fair way to do? And is the county the best place to do that? I don't know. I mean, it's a state mandate here in Minnesota. They have to have an assessing department.
Yeah.
And they have to do the divvying up of that money. That's part of their job. So
I think it's better the county does it than the state does it. Yeah,
if the government's closer to you, it's always better, I think.
Yeah,
But,
I do too. Ultimately, if you had, I don't know, city, county, and school district all figuring out their own stuff, then, and you have one collection point. I mean, that's not so bad, I guess. I just disagree with the way that they do it altogether because, like you say, it's really how it's divvied up based on how much they want to spend.
Right. They do it backwards.
They do it backwards instead of letting how much they spend to be limited by people's home values and how much people should be. I think they should lock some of those rates in. Like, okay, you have a house that's worth $500,000, so this is your property tax rate, and
it's not subject to how much they want to spend.
right,
They do it backwards. But I also have to say, in their defense, if you look at like truth and taxation hearings and stuff, they almost have to do it that way with state law. Because you have to set a preliminary budget, and you do that on the expense side. They figure out what they want to spend.
Yeah.
Then they figure out how they're going to get it.
right,
And they have to throw that out there in September and then finalize that in December.
right. Well, for a fully developed city, pretty much how much you would be getting in taxes,
should.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to change a whole lot from year to year. Those rates could change a little bit and be adjusted there. But, if you did it that way, I think that, there wouldn't be a lot to figure out. Whereas with a developing city, yeah, you'd have to add some of that property value in from the new developments and stuff like that. And things would change that way some. But,
So it takes a totally different mentality. Instead of saying, okay, we have $10 million.
yeah,
We say, no, we're going to spend 11. We have 10. We have to get 1.
you have to cut one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not a cut. It's not really a cut.
Not
You just
really.
have to
It's a cut the rate of growth.
Cut it out of your budget. Yes.
It's a cut it out of a projection. That's all it
Yes.
is.
Yep.
It is. I mean, you're right, though. It is totally backwards. I mean, it is totally backwards to figure out what you want to spend and then figure out how you're going to get it. And then you have the issue of getting around the property tax. And we've talked about this before. This is why levy limits don't work. I was reading an article of somebody. I don't want to say it was from. I couldn't find it today. This was last week, and it was not the American Experiment, but it was one group like that. And they were talking about, we got to go back to capping property tax. We got to go back to levy limits. Wait a minute. The only place a levy limit should go from the legislature is on itself.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you tell, say you went to city A and said, okay, you can't raise your taxes more than 3%. Now, that sounds okay, but what are they going to do? They're going to raise their taxes 2.95
Yeah.
and then pass that out. Well, we could have raised it 3. We didn't. We gave you a 0.05% break. And then what do?
They find out another way to get it.
Exactly.
Property tax levy caps is what got us
Franchise
fees.
It's exactly what got us. If you look at when that exploded and when we had levy limits, you'll find a direct correlation between the two.
Absolutely.
And it isn't just that. It's jacking up licensing fees and permit fees and liquor licenses and concessions at the pool and whatever else they can find to bring in that money that they want to spend. And then, of course, you can't figure out where your money's going.
Right.
Because once again, they put it in this bucket and that bucket and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Here's the thing. Is it possible in Minnesota to just firebomb it and start back? Because to me, the first thing that has to happen is all these exemptions have to go away.
Yes.
You can't simplify a system. It's kind of like if you're going to simplify income taxes, well, you can't keep everybody's breaks.
Nope.
You can't keep a break for you and a break for you and a break for you. Then all
15% or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the way it's got to be.
Yeah, I don't even think you can begin to reform them until you go back to 4 tax classifications, and that's it. Yeah. No more. No more exemptions, no more favors, no more cuts for a bread and breakfast. Or you wouldn't believe some of them. I mean, I don't even want to read them. They're too depressing.
Yeah.
You can go to the Minnesota Department of Revenue and try to find them. I mean, they're it's kind of like going to the auditor's website. It's kind of...
And you just wait. I mean, they're going to come up with more because with the push for equitable housing and getting traditionally disadvantaged populations into owning homes or renting this or that. I mean, they're going to, they could take it as far as, let's say your apartment building is at least 25% traditionally marginalized people, you'll get a tax break of 12%, or
they already do it on the front end with Section 8.
Right.
What's to do it on the back end with property taxes?
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, they break rental properties down already to a certain degree.
And if they do that kind of thing, it's going to make it harder for certain people to find housing because you're not preferred.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're not going to get the free money. Free money doesn't come with you.
You don't fit into the intersectionality matrix. So you don't get to. It doesn't matter. Housing is not a fundamental right for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Shelter's not
something
that you need. We'll give that to somebody else who gives us free money.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. They could do that with homesteads too. I mean, it's already progressive to a point.
Mm-hmm.
What's stopping them from making it more? What's stopping them honestly from exempting certain houses from property taxes? Just saying, or cutting it for minority-owned businesses, or cutting. I mean, what? Transsexual businesses or transsexual daycares or whatever. What's stopping them from doing that? If they can make an exception for bed and breakfast or make an exception for a rental unit with 4 or 6 or 8, what's the rationale to just not make 500 of them?
Right. Well, I've
seen this with the income taxes.
Absolutely.
I mean, you got to have a household exemption, and then you've got a per kid one. Then you've got I can't even keep track of everything that's happened. We haven't really reformed income taxes on a federal level since 1986.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've cut some taxes, but we haven't changed. 86 was the last overhaul we had.
Right.
So it's
why ruin a good thing, Andrew?
Good thing.
Why mess with success?
I just want to see like exactly, like one thing you won't find, like when you go to Hennepin, like I tried to go to Hennepin County's website and find what the median price was in the entire county.
Yeah.
And what you'd expect to pay for a median. Now, there's variables to that because of what school district you live in. And so you can't get an exact thing. But I should have been able to, like, get an estimate on, say the average home's $250,000. I mean, I don't know, because you got everything from North Minneapolis to the north side of Lake Minnetonka. So, I mean, that's a wide range, of houses and population. And I couldn't find one on there.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing that breaks down. I mean, they tell you where the money goes, but they don't break down, like, what to expect. You sort of just have to you get what you get.
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of lousy, too. You do the assessing and you do the paying, but you can't tell me, I can't. And even, like, city websites and stuff like that, they don't post what the average property tax is.
Oh, no.
Like if you want to move to New Hope or Plymouth or Robbinsdale or whatever.
Why would you want to do any of those?
But, I mean, they don't put... Okay, well, here's what you expect to pay. You got to get it from a realtor. You got to get it from, and it's like, come on. I mean, that information should be just right there.
Right.
You don't want a surprise when you move. Maybe did you know when you moved from Crystal what the property taxes were?
It was laid out like in my mortgage documents.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
That was really it. It
was a lot less back then.
Yes, indeed. That is for sure.
I mean, you think about it too. How much higher can they go? In all honesty, I mean, how much? Property taxes used to be I want to say average, but like $100 a month, $150 a month. Now, I mean, $200 and you're low.
Yeah.
I mean, how much higher can they go with housing prices and all that? I mean, how much more can you gouge out of people?
They'll keep going up 1% a year, 2% a year, whatever. I mean,
that's still real money.
Your New Hope, 13% a year. I mean, whatever it is, and.
I think what you and I ought to do is go build luxury homes somewhere. I live in a luxury apartment now. I love it. So I think that maybe that's what you and I should do. We could probably get the cities to pay for most of it too.
Right.
You build one in New Hope. I guarantee you won't pay a cent. You won't pay any taxes.
Yeah, if you can win the bid.
That's true. Own a barber shop or you own a nail salon and you'll pay through the nose. But
right.
You play with the big boys, then you will. Then you won't have to. So I mean,
roll out the red carpet and the free money just comes raining down.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too.
Yeah.
I'd like to know why is this not a priority at the legislature too? I mean, I just think I sit there and I think. I know everybody has their little pet issues and all that kind of stuff, but going back, making things simpler, there is such a resistance to that anywhere in government. And I know why, but I don't know why. It's like, do you want to spend all of your time trying to explain this to people, or do you want to create a system that's self-explanatory where you don't have to?
Right.
It's like, do you really need website after website after website explaining how to figure out this and figure out that, and booklets, 5 inches thick of taxes? Just like, why is there no, why is it people don't see something wrong with it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't understand why people aren't motivated by their pocketbooks when it comes to taxes.
You know why I think I'm going to be a real pessimist here.
Yeah.
Because of a couple reasons. One, a lot of people aren't paying a lot of taxes.
Yeah.
There's certain people who are not paying anything hardly.
Right.
I think one of the goals of the big government folks is to get it, especially at a federal level, to where 51% of people aren't paying.
Well, I think they'd like it so nobody's paying. I mean, it's kind of built in, how communism works. It's
well,
like
right.
you have your government job,
It's the
and
norm.
they take they keep a bunch of it on the front end, and they don't tell you this is just what you get, right?
Pretty much give you a job somewhere. You just
Yeah.
well, but I don't know. I think that a lot of people aren't paying. I think, like we talked about, people aren't cutting a check to something, so they don't. Yeah. And I think that the mentality of people is twofold. One, when I get paid, if I'm making $20 an hour, I know that 20% of that or whatever is government's money. I think of it as not mine.
Yeah.
I only take home, blah, blah, blah. We've instilled that in, and nobody alive today was working in 1910.
Right.
So we don't know a world where there's no income tax. Okay. And I think secondly, there is this propaganda that if I want more of my own money, I'm selfish. I'm taking food away from children. I'm taking away their school lunch. You're called racist.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, I'm destroying somebody's life because I'm keeping more of what I earned.
Yeah.
And there is that. Because I have talked to people who will tell me that. Well, I'm okay paying it if it goes to this. Well, is it?
Yeah.
What are your results? Where do you see, like, you're unhappy about where your money's going, but yet you pay it and you don't say a word about it? Well,
newsflash, bunch of your taxes are going to go to people that want abortions. Bunch of your taxes are going to go to people that want to change their gender. Are you all right paying for that? Some of you might be. Not people listen to this show, I imagine, but I'm not all right with paying that. Well, you're right. Those people do listen.
Yeah, of course they listen.
Of course.
That's okay. Yeah. Maybe they'll learn something. Yeah. I'm fine with that. But, I just think that, like, I'll be honest with you, Jay, I have watched legislative debates, governor debates, all this stuff, and I almost never hear property taxes brought up.
Yeah.
When was the last debate you watched of property taxes were brought up? Like two legislators were debating.
Never.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time. Can't remember if I've ever heard of a time.
Right.
So there's just there's just too many people getting free stuff.
Yep.
Too much of that crap, and the complex system.
When people are having to work 2, 3, 4 jobs just to keep their heads above water, I'm sorry, the tax burden is too heavy.
Yeah, and you think about, like, why was it that, my grandparents, the Richters, my grandfather worked, my grandma didn't. They had 8 kids.
Yeah, that wouldn't work today.
Quote, need has changed,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who keep up with the Joneses, but I just go back to, how I think, like, if I had, like, if my wife didn't work and I did, and we had a kid or two,
yeah,
I sit there and I go, that would be a cramp in our lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, some things we'd have to give up and so on and so forth. I mean, we wouldn't be starving, but it's like, it's a lot harder to do that.
Right.
And there's a lot that goes into that. Inflation, taxes, cost of living. You feel you need cable, and you feel you need, everybody has to have 3 cell phones, and you need a laptop. You kind of do with kids, though. You kind of do need a computer. It's not BS when they force you to stay home and, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So, but I wonder if we'll ever go back to a time where you can have the destruction of the nuclear family. I go back to that as such a thing that has had so many consequences in this country.
Absolutely.
I mean,
we're so much worse off for it. Thanks, LBJ.
But even after that, I mean, I remember growing up, I mean, it didn't feel like it is now. It didn't feel, I remember the homes with mom and dad and the 2.7 kids.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. It's, that the destruction of the nuclear family has had so many consequences to it. And I hate saying this too, but redefining the roles of men and women have had immense consequences.
Right.
Because I am pro women can do anything. I really do believe that. I really do believe that they can they try their hardest and do their best. I think they can accomplish anything they want to. But I go back to this, Jay.
Yes.
And this, you feminists out there, I just can't wait to see what you say for what I'm about to say. Yes, they can. Should they?
It's the patriarchy.
I'm part of the old boys club, I guess. But should they? I mean, should they do that?
Well, everybody's got to make that decision, I guess, for themselves and their family.
And I'm free, but remember, there's consequences to every decision you make.
I think it's really hurt us, when you have children that come home to an empty household because the mother's working.
Or are in daycare all day.
Sorry, because the birthing person is working. Yes. It's...
But I mean, like, I go back, like, when I was a kid, my dad worked and my mom didn't when we were very young.
Yeah.
She went back to work when I was a teenager. When I was maybe 12 or 13. My sister would have been about 9. Mm-hmm. She was always home, 3:00 or whatever she was home. But I mean, yes, we sacrificed some stuff, but to have my mom home all the time, you can have my video games. I don't care. To not grow up in the environment that some kids do, it's So I come back to that. Is it right that the woman wants to work so the family can have more toys, or is it And look, I'm not ripping women when I say that. I'm saying you get married and have a family, that comes first.
Yeah.
The other stuff comes after that. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm on the wrong track or what, but
I don't think so. I mean, and for some families, the dad has stayed home.
That's true,
and that's okay too. I
think the mother has it in them more to be the nurturer, but
with dad, it's usually just like, go do whatever you want. I'm busy.
But my dad waxed the car again or something like that. I'm kind of good that he wasn't around.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just had a lot of consequences. So
it has. I mean, I think that we're less polite as a culture. I think that we don't know how to care for our parents anymore because there's not that same relationship and bond.
Even throw them in a nursing home. We don't want to deal with them.
Even for kids that they've watched their parents take care of their grandparents or whatever. I think a lot of this generation has been like, I don't need to visit my parents. I don't need to check in on them. I don't need to talk to them. I don't need to.
Well, there's the Netflix marathon of whatever show you want to watch. That's more important.
Right.
Cut into my TV time.
And I think that because
are we veering off subject? Isn't it great?
But I guess we are. I have no way to tie that back into property taxes. But I believe because mothers aren't teaching their children these things. And it's being left to schools, and they're not teaching it, and it's left to daycare, and they're not teaching it. Unfortunately,
even though some of them do as good as they can. I mean, some daycares are terrific.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're not bad at watching the kids, but I don't think they'll ever instill the values you want.
They
in your
don't
children.
replace a mom or dad. They don't replace them. That's that simple. It's a place to park your kid while you go work. It's not a place to raise.
If you leave them at school, they might have 2 moms or 2 dads. or be one of 2 moms or 2 dads. Or be a mom one day and a dad the next day. I don't know.
Non-binary parent.
They accused us of being helicopter parents.
Yeah, and I'll say something else. I really don't like how stay-at-home moms are kind of looked down on by some.
Neither do I.
But I think that's terrible. It's a personal choice that they have made for their families. They put their family first, not the yah-yah sisterhood. I think it's terrible when people are looked down upon like that. I think that's just horrible.
Yeah.
It's just disgusting. So, and, teaching, here's the other thing as a guy, you get very easy to be confused.
Yeah.
Because women, no matter what they say, and I'm going to get in trouble for this too. Women want a manly man. They do not want a girly, sensitive guy. I don't care what they say. Okay?
It's true.
They will
think
take
in
the
most
Marlboro
cases.
man over Jacob Fry 10 out of 10 times. I'm not kidding.
I don't know about some of these woke women, but I think your
I
average.
think their instincts, though,
Yeah.
is they want the, the John Wayne, the Clint Eastwood. That's what they really want.
the Jason Bradley.
Yeah, I mean, but they may feel like they can't say it,
Yes.
but there's certain things I won't let my wife do.
Yeah.
My wife does not work on the car. I might screw it up, but it's my job to do it.
Right.
I would never let my wife shovel. I would never let her cut the grass.
Yeah.
I would. It's like no. I take care of that.
Yeah. The outside has always been mine.
Yeah. And so it is not that she can't do it.
Right.
It's that it's my job to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. So it's and I think women will take that guy 1,000,000 out of 1,000,000 times. Even the woke ones. Even the ones with a butch haircut. Even them will do that. It's BS that's what women want. But it is confusing because if you're too sensitive, they want the Marlboro man. If you're too much the Marlboro man, they don't want,
Right.
you can't talk. So it's like,
It's
okay.
confusing.
I don't know
It's
what to
almost-
be
That might be the
sometimes.
one thing more confusing than the taxes in this
Yeah,
state.
okay, way to tie that in. I like that. Yeah. So, I mean, the taxes
Yeah.
in this state stink. No surprise.
Yeah.
They're going to get worse, not gooder. I mean, there's no question about that. And if you're going to be a man, be a manly man.
Right.
Grunt, sweat,
Fish.
pass gas,
Yeah.
fish, hunt, work on cars, pretend you know how to fix things like me. Okay? That's what you got. That's what you should be doing. And so, just in case there's any confusion out there, I say always do the manly thing.
Absolutely.
But even that, teaching a man to be a boy to be a man is looked down upon by some.
Oh,
sectors
absolutely.
of this.
It's the patriarchy.
Well,
It's toxic masculinity. There's no such thing as toxic
there's
masculinity.
no such thing
No.
whatsoever. as
That's a
that.
made-up term by some idiot.
Some
That's-
Gloria Steinem descendant
Yeah.
made that up. There's no
Yeah. Toxic masculinity.
truth to
Yeah.
that whatsoever.
Nobody says that woman is too feminine. Nobody says that bear is too much of a bear. Nobody says,
Can't bear to find out.
yeah. Nobody says that walrus needs to act more like a giraffe. Nobody says those things. But when it's men, it's different. And by deconstructing men the way they have, it has allowed then the men to be more effeminate and really groomed them to be more effeminate. And that's where you have all of this transgender stuff too, is because you've opened the door for that. You have groomed them, trained them that is desirable.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just great. By the way, back to property taxes for a minute.
Yeah.
Go try to find answers somewhere. I don't have any answers. But I'm telling you, get a breakdown of your property taxes, folks. See where they're all going.
Yeah.
You look at it sometime, and then you scratch your head and what the hell kind of system we've got.
Yeah. And start thinking about ways that this could be changed. And let's come up with some solutions. And let's let our legislators know that we're not happy with the way this is working. Let's let our city council and our county people know and our school board people know we're not happy with the way this is working and we demand change. We don't want graduated income taxes. We don't want
Okay, now I got to
Yeah.
say something about that. If we're going to have regressive excess taxes, slightly graduated income tax, I'm okay with. What I'd like to do, this is when I run for governor, this is what I'm going to advocate.
Yeah.
I'm going to advocate to get rid of our sales tax, make it illegal for any city to impose a sales tax.
Yeah.
And legalize gambling. That's what I want to legalize all gambling.
Yeah.
Because gambling, in a way, is a tax on the poor if you use it to raise revenue.
Yeah.
But if we get rid of the sales tax, Jay,
Yeah.
then that regressive tax goes away. So how do you like that?
Yeah. Although, I don't know. I've kind of gone back and forth on that. I mean, with the sales tax, I mean, yeah, it hits, the poor people. I mean, if they go buy a kitchen table for $200, they got to pay the same tax on that a wealthy person would pay. But you know what? Most wealthy people aren't going to buy a $200 kitchen table. They're going to buy a $3,000 kitchen table.
There's truth to that, but here's the difference. The difference is I can put money in people's pockets right now, today. Okay? Not on the income, not next April, not if you qualify for this or that.
Yeah.
Today, you will have more money in your pocket no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Period. That's the difference.
Yeah. I think we get rid of the income tax altogether. I mean, we didn't have one before 1913. It worked fine.
We didn't have one in Minnesota till 1933.
Yeah.
Well,
Worked fine there, too. Stop spending so much money.
I'm not going to oppose that, but I'm not going to prioritize it either.
Yeah.
To me, if we're going to have an income tax, it's got to be simple. It's got to be easy. It shouldn't be something that you need booklets to do. I don't know if that would require constitutional change. I'm not sure. Because to me, you'd have to change the Constitution. Otherwise, the income tax would come back.
Well,
Put it this way. Texas, for example,
yeah.
has it written in that not only can they not impose an income tax, the legislature can't pass one.
Yeah.
It has to go to the people and pass by like a 2-to-1 majority.
Huh.
You can't see in some states that don't have one, the legislature could impose one tomorrow.
Right.
Texas, they can't. The legislature can pass anything. Oh, it's void unless the people vote like 60 or 67% to income tax themselves. So it's virtually impossible.
I love that.
Yeah, and so if you're going to do something like that, you have to retroactively do that because any tax that goes down can always go up. Any tax that goes away can always come back.
Yep.
So that's a big thing to me with the income tax. You'd have to write it out of the Constitution or else it'll be back. And the next time somebody wants a amphitheater built, it's like a toll road. It just becomes a cancer everywhere. Then everyone wants a toll road.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's what happened in Illinois and Indiana and states like that. That they just, once they put one up, they put 100 up.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm one that if we're going to have progressive taxes, then we need to have regressive taxes. If we're going to have regressive taxes, there should be a progressive tax somewhere. And I know people would like to pay nothing whatsoever. I get it.
I don't want that. I mean, you can't do that. You need police, you need fire, you need roads fixed, you need
There's legitimate government
our
functions.
borders defended, all that kind of stuff. But I
You
think
need roundabouts. You need
that is not
electric
a legitimate
charging
function of
stations.
government. If you kept it to the basic legitimate functions of government,
we haven't been there since 1805.
Probably
1913, Jay. That's the year America changed. We'll never go back.
It's true.
After that.
It's true.
1913,
It changed.
Wilson's election and the progressives being totally in charge. We have never changed from 1913.
And we have never figured out how to dial any of that back.
Yeah, well, that again, what does that mean? It means tearing something down and redoing it.
Yeah.
It means tearing down the Federal Reserve so we actually have some who can manipulate the system anytime they want to. Income tax is going to take government to completely redo how they spend, because if you get rid of an income tax, you can't tax Social Security either.
Right.
That's an income tax.
Although we do in this state.
Yeah. I mean, you can't take it from somebody.
Yeah.
The only reason we have a Social Security is because we have an income tax amendment.
Right.
So if you get rid of that, you get rid of that too. If you're going to junk the
That's
system,
true.
you have to junk the system.
Yeah.
And I think there's people who want to keep their little breaks,
Right.
but they want to get rid of everybody else's.
Right.
And that's what can't happen.
Well, and if we went to some sort of flat tax, you could get rid of the IRS, and then it's
That'll cut some government there. That'd be
Yeah.
just fine. Tell those new IRS agents to go apply at Burger King.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Boy, that was a great mess around.
Yeah. You like that?
I had some other thoughts on property taxes too, but I forgot them. Doesn't matter.
Well, and let's just say this, though. I mean, the government is trying to collude with business we've talked about this fascist state that's being set up, so that people don't own, so that you have a property owner, which might be
An
the government,
absentee property
but
owner.
it might be, like Blackstone or some of these other companies that are buying up millions of homes and millions of properties. So that you have people renting, so that you have them cloistered together more, so that there was something that just came up within the last week. I've heard it a couple of times where they call them 15-minute cities. And we've talked about that for a long while, where you design a city in such a way that everything's within walking distance. You don't have to go more than 6 blocks to get anything you need. Therefore, you're not driving. Therefore, you don't travel. And that is the new thing, these 15-minute cities
you're
that
being
they want to build.
controlled.
Right. And so that's not done through ownership. That's going to be done through renting
Favors.
and things like that. You're creating an environment that keeps people from owning things so that they don't go anywhere.
And how far have we changed in a country? Go back to the Homestead Act.
I
Go back
know.
to where it was we want
you to go take land.
exactly.
Go explore.
Go raise cattle. Go raise a family. Go have a farm. I go back to the destruction of the family farm. I mean, look at what's happening in that industry with other countries buying agriculture, with absentee landowners
Yep.
owning a lot of these farms and mass producing stuff and drowning out. And they're the ones that get the subsidies. Why do you think what does Bill Gates know about farming? I hate
Nothing.
bringing him up all the time, but he knows nothing. He has somebody telling him to put his money there.
Yeah.
To invest it, and he'll make more. That's what he's doing. It's a folder in his portfolio.
That's part of it. Part of it is also this
he has a
climate
personal
change
agenda, but
yeah, there's a personal agenda with climate change, and by taking more land away from people that are farming,
and taking more away from us to live on.
yeah,
another thing, too.
it changes things. So,
And not making hamburgers either.
right. Oh, hamburgers.
They're closed. All right. Styling, profiling, jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. Jason Bradley, take it away.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, what a show. You think of all of the property taxes, and we pay taxes on so many things. It's everywhere. Everywhere. But yet we don't seem to be able to come up with new ideas to be able to overcome the taxes and to overcome the trans agenda and to overcome the woke agenda and to overcome the critical race theory and all of the things that have happened over the last 112 years or whatever. Ever since 1913.
110, close enough.
110. Yeah, I guess 19 is 23. Yeah, 110. 110 years. We never found out a way to combat how to dial those things back. And we just go along to get along. Where are the people, and we talked about the Homestead Act, that have what I like to call the pioneer spirit? Where they're willing to take a risk, where they will risk life and limb to go after adventure and to create something new and go where the stars are, to try and pull a few down and make a change for the better. You've got people on the left that do it all the time. They see this crazy communist utopia they want, and they're all about it. And they'll do whatever needs doing. They will lie, they'll cheat, they'll steal, they'll overrun elections, they'll do whatever they need to do to be able to put their agenda in. And then there's us who just, take our time. I'd like to have more freedom, but I got a tea time I gotta get to. Kids have a concert coming up this week. I can't go out tonight because I got to go out for their concert on Thursday night. I got to binge watch the new episodes of Frasier or whatever it is. I don't know. But it is this pioneer spirit that America used to have that drives us to succeed, that drives us to excel. We talk about American excellence. And it's not because the people in America are any better than anywhere else, but we have ideals in this country, or at least we did, that allowed us to be able to pursue excellence. We didn't have to answer to some despot, but instead, we were free enough to pursue whatever ideas we had, whatever we could think up and dream we could go do. And that is being shut down quickly, and we'd better open our eyes because it's just a matter of time until we're not allowed to do this. We're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to dream this or dream that because we're wrong-headed in the way we think. It doesn't help the collective. We've got to stand up and fight that because once we lose freedom, it's gone. I don't want that. And I don't think you want that. And I don't think you want that for your kids and your grandkids and your grandkids' kids. None of us want it now, let alone want our descendants to have to deal with it. But yet we're not willing to step in and put the steps in place to switch some of this stuff, to battle it out and to get some wins and to dial things back. Somehow we're just content. It's like, oh, well, they passed that. Oh, well, I guess we're stuck with it now. No, we're not ever stuck with anything. There's a way, and we have to figure that way out. That's where we have to put our collective minds together. That's where collectivism is good. When we put our minds together, our thoughts, to come up with things that have never been dreamt of before, never tried, to try and increase freedom, to try and increase prosperity. But instead, we're being driven into this collective mass of, oh, well, if I have and there's need, then I need to give of what I have. Nobody that lived through East Germany, that lived through the Soviet Union, that lived through any of the communist times in Europe, or that lived in Cambodia when Pol Pot was in charge, or what they're going through in Venezuela right now. If any of those people were able to talk to us, they would say, stop. Why do you think people are flooding over our borders from Central American countries? It's because they don't want where we're going. They want the ideal that they've been sold about what America is. So where are the pioneers? Where are the people that would risk it all just to come up with something that could possibly change the trajectory of our country? That could somehow lighten the load, that could somehow loosen up and increase freedom for all of us. As long as we're slaves to our jobs, to kids' events, we're not going to go anywhere. You know? I think there are very few kids that need to be on a traveling sports team. All it does is take time away from family. Take time away from being able to show your kids how to be involved in something, how to give back. It takes you out of church. It takes you out of the community. That's just one example. I mean, there's so many things that we could be doing, should be doing differently, and we're not. So how do we do it? First, we've got to have the mindset and the heart and the courage to be able to come after the things that are stealing from us. And only then, once we have the courage, once we have the mindset, once we have the determination, can we put that plan into action. So where are my pioneers? Where are those who are willing to load up a figurative covered wagon and set out on a journey that is going to take us who knows where? But it has all the risks, but it also has all the rewards. So, who's with me? Get a hold of us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. At commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. I would love to be able to speak with you. This is what we do. We train people how to be competitive, how to win, how to have vision. And you can walk in your calling as well. So let's do this together. Let's take this thing back. Why? Because we can and we must. Our children are waiting on us to act. Let us sacrifice everything for their success. I love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work. Take my life, caught a break between the lines. Don't let me be. If I get too caught up